last week we had 2 practices canceled, 2 out of the 3. And as a coach, I have to bring optimism to these kids. And I have to stay really positive. And some coaches seem to be eternally optimistic. But for me, I feel so deeply connected to climate change, having studied it in the classroom and then just on my own with my own awareness, I guess, that I feel like I'm lying to them. And it's really hard to bring this kind of false optimism to the kids when I feel pessimistic myself. I think coaching makes me get through it a bit more though, because you're surrounded by other coaches and parents who are saying, "Ooh, we have an inch on the golf course, practice is on today," and we just strap on our worst skis and go tool around on the green and white speckles, and practice happens. So kicking and gliding, kick is the back part, glide is the forward part. Kick and glide. Being an environmental studies student in college was not always easy because I immediately brought what I was learning intellectually into my own life and my own landscape. And I also was fortunate enough to be studying this abstract environment in my own home environment, so to speak, going to college very close to my home. So that connection was always there, and I was always drawing upon some concept I learned in class and then connecting it to, wow, like our maple sugaring season was 2 weeks early this year and 2 weeks shorter. And it was hard. It's always been hard for me to separate the two, the classroom and what's happening in our own world. And it's not like I wish that weren't the case, because I find it a bit pointless to separate the two. I mean, we are studying what is happening around us theoretically, but it also is extremely overwhelming. I think with skiing, it's scary. It's a scary thought for me that we've never seen the end of a sport before. That's just kind of a weird concept. Like, sports are a way of bringing people together and kind of from a evolutionary biology standpoint, it's kind of filling this niche of survival and competitive instincts that we don't really have an outlet for anymore. And that's not something that we think about going extinct. Like, that's just kind of human nature. With skiing, there are certain conditions that have to be at play, and so it's a claustrophobic feeling for me to think, like, kind of see this window getting smaller and smaller. Just a few years ago, about, let's say, I don't know, 5, maybe 7 years ago, snowmaking became a thing for cross-country skiing, which we think of with downhill skiing. Cross-country skiing tends to just rely on natural snow, and that's what makes it this, especially a gem for me, is that we have to wait for this natural thing to have fallen. But now we've already come to a new era of crisis, which is that it hasn't been cold enough to blow snow. People talk about trying to come up with a technology of how to blow snow above freezing, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what are we talking about now, where this is such a Band-Aid at this point? We're not getting to the heart of the matter. That we're in a climate crisis. We're in this new era. It's taken on a whole other form of severity, that these two kind of exponential jumps in the transformation of the sport have happened within a decade. To put this whole story in perspective, this is an absolute first world problem. To be able to ski is such a privilege. It still is an extremely white sport, cross-country skiing, and me complaining about our lack of extra blue days doesn't even touch the surface of those who are really, really being affected in coastal areas and those with the fewest resources to fight for justice. And I really see climate change as this tragedy that is affecting the poorest first and the privileged last. And we're in the stage of it affecting the poorest right now. Climate change minded people tend to do a lot of talking, and the question is always, so what's the doing we do at this point? And of course I don't have the be-all end-all answer, and it's so overwhelming. I think about that every day in my own hypocrisies in my own life, of probably the most obvious one being driving to find snow. The more we drive, probably the less snow we'll have. Who knows, really? I mean, I don't understand everything about climate change, and I think even climate modelers don't necessarily know everything. But I like to think of it as a mindset and an outlook of just awareness, and trying to, even when we do use plastic bags for something, or we do get in our car, or I don't know, we buy something with packaging, and we get on an airplane, you know, kind of the exponential version of all these other examples I just mentioned, just to have awareness and to try to think about all the connections of our actions to the earth and to our landscape, and to try to always make the best choice we can given the circumstances that we have.